Not only are airlines going out of business because of the fuel prices, not only is our economies around the planet getting screwed up, but all this is going on while the nation we went to rescue is having the time of their lives in that one little small profit in saving gasoline. Now, it's hell in Iraq. It is, and I'm not lessening that. It's terrible for the people and for our soldiers. But what I'm getting at is there's something crooked. Well, let me rephrase that. Something that just ain't right with regards to the oil, because oil went up over $115 a barrel since we invaded that country. Now, I will tell you, there was a comedian that joked at the beginning of the war, well, heck, if we're in Iraq, we should only be paying 5 cents a gallon. Now, he said that as a joke. But if we really think about it, why are we paying the highest prices of all time? And while they come up with all these excuses, they don't mention, every time they mention that gas is going up, they don't at the same time in that report, they don't bother telling the public, well, you know, the oil companies are having record profits. They don't tell you the oil producing nations are having record profits. They don't tell you that the oil producing nations are manipulating the amount of barrels they produce to either lower or raise the gasoline and the oil throughout the country. They don't bother to tell you how it's affecting the dollar. So there are many bad things going on with regards with the gasoline. But what we don't seem to get in America and around the globe is it's not just gasoline. It's because of the gasoline, every facet of our economies are being hurt. It's costing more for food, more for clothing, more for every single thing you need to live, to just live, the necessities in life. So I have to say, we're paying the highest for gasoline prices. Now that ain't right. Okay, that was a little bit weak. Now that ain't right. But before we get to Linnell, let me just say this. We can make dramatic changes. But most importantly, before we get to Linnell, one of the most important changes we may make in the next 5 years is to move from oil, gasoline fueled cars to little or no gasoline. Because if the oil producing nations and the gasoline oil companies are not going to do right by this planet, then we need to work on lowering their profits and maybe, ultimately, putting a few of them out of business. I don't have a problem putting them out of business. Because if you're going to rape, pillage, and destroy my people, which is the human race, if you're going to destroy our lives, we will help to get you out of the business and maybe mess with your lives. Linnell time.
You're absolutely right, Al. But you look at the structure of the orchestration of for the most part of what we have to suffer for. Now, granted, there's no amounts of barrels of oil in the universe that could make up for the lives that are being lost.
That's right.
These are lives that could help do greater things for the greater good of our country instead of being lost to the worser, might you say, bad part of our country. We can't get those lives back.
No.
And there's no amount of oil that could make up for that. And I want that to be absolutely clear. But nevertheless, the structure of the orchestration of it all, now we have an administration a president and a vice president whom are both in the oil business and have been for quite some time. Now, it seems to me that when our president went to Iraq to talk to the president of Iraq, we thought, and we were under the impression that he was going there to kind of help them to understand why we need the productivity of oil to be increased so that it would drop the price of oil. Instead, it did just the opposite. That just ain't right.
Now, that ain't right.
So
That ain't right.
here he is back in our country, back at home here, and the prices are still going up. Now, it seems to me with the offset of the value of the dollar, that meeting should have been in place to help to bolster the dollar and help to enrich our economy and at least take a little bit of pressure off of us. But it's not. That just ain't right either. But what my point is that somebody is making an exorbitant profit off of this. Now, and those who are in the oil business know that they're making astronomical profits at the expense of our soldiers, at the expense of people who don't have a lot of money to pay for exorbitant fuel prices to get back and forth to work, to get to the hospital to see their loved ones, to get to their children to school. Now, it just doesn't seem to me. Somebody's making a profit, and I believe that those ones that are making those profits are the ones that are telling us that there's nothing they can do about it and that we just have to bear with it. And we are, but it's got to come to a head. It's got to stop. As a matter of fact, I believe that the productivity has not gone up yet, and in some cases the price has not risen as rapidly as it was in the recent past, but it's maintaining a very unlivable and uncomfortable level. And it's just, that just ain't right. I don't care how you slice it, how you drink it, whatever. It just ain't right.
You know, I want to throw a couple of things out there. Interesting. You made me think of something. You know, I'm not going to call anybody out, per se. I'm going to call the American people out and tell them we're going to give you the information. Now, we're not perfect. We may get some things wrong. But you know what we have right? What is right? The attitude that we can change it. The attitude that you don't look at I'm going to use a metaphor for a minute. If you have a broken window, you don't keep that broken window broke. You go out and you get some cardboard or some wood and you cover it up temporarily. And then what do? You save the money if you don't have it and you get that window replaced. You fix it. So if what we have is a bad economy, a low dollar, and a ripoff on gasoline, we can complain, which is what this part we're doing. But then we got to fix it. So we're going to give you some prescriptions for fixing it. And it's funny that I mentioned the word prescription because maybe later on in the show, we may have to do a little something about prescriptions and how the pharmaceutical companies are robbing us in that aspect. But there was something Linnell said. He said the value of a human life can never be replaced. And when he said that word, value, it hit me. We have a certain political party called the Republicans. Oh my God, I actually came out and said the truth.
Republicans.
The Republicans, including Mr. McCain, this political season, and